Oakland A's manager Mark Kotsay, who joins us on the program today, having just won the Jay Buhner lookalike contest in Seattle last week. Kots, good morning, dude. Good to see you, man.
Hey, that's a compliment, Matty. Jay Buhner was pretty built, so I appreciate that.
Hey, talk about this event. This sounds like a pretty neat thing, and you're among a very long, distinguished list of celebrities here. You're going to be presenting a posthumous honor to your college coach, Augie Garrido. That's pretty special.
Yeah, really special. Very honored to be able to acknowledge Coach Garrido and all that he did for me in my life. Obviously, everyone in baseball knows Augie in some capacity, and it's a blessing to be able to talk about what he did, the impact he had on my life. I think obviously I'm sitting here as a major league manager, and a lot of it has to do with Augie and the passion that he had for the game that came across to us in really the most impactful years of our lives in that 17 to 21-year-old age. It wasn't just about baseball. He taught the game taught us about life, and Augie did that through the game, which was awesome.
Yeah, I think you hit on something important there. Really impactful years, right? Your brains are just soaking in everything at that age of your life between 17 and 21. But what was it about what you learned there at Fullerton with Coach Garrido that impacted you, Phil Nevin, and so many others? Phil managing in the same division these days, of course. I mean, it's quite a coaching tree that developed there.
Yeah, it really was, and I think it's a testament to Aug and what you talked about. The thing that came for me from being with Augie really didn't happen until my later adult years. Mostly, when I started really developing a friendship with him and he became a mentor, understanding that during those years in my life when I really needed to understand what discipline meant, what respect meant, what hard work meant, what trusting teammates meant. And really you tie all that into one kind of topic, which is relationships. And that's what really Augie was all about. And I think that's the value that I take into my approach with my team, with the guys in my clubhouse. It's about establishing the relationships and building the trust, really, and working together to accomplish something greater than ourselves.
Could you have ever imagined? I mean, here you and Phil are, you guys friends for a long time, teammates in San Diego, exchanging lineup cards. I mean, this would have been a hard thing to envision maybe 20 years ago when Phil was beating up toilets in the men's room and you were on the field doing calisthenics. Like, it happened, Kots. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is. It's a dream come true, I think, for both Phil and myself. Unfortunately, I think Tim Wallach was another Fullerton alum that was in pursuit of a managerial career, and unfortunately, it didn't happen for Tim. But like you said, Augie did have an impact on our lives, not just from a baseball standpoint, but one of my closest college teammates is president of Medtronic. There's so many of us that have gone out and had successful careers, not just in baseball, but in life.
Hey, Kots, talk a little bit about the Coliseum, because I know we've had conversations year over year. I think the issues of the stadium is a little bit documented for sure. But I just remember back in my day going through there, even when football was being played in the outfield, my infield was always good. And no matter what the shortcomings maybe the locker room had or that long walk down to the dugout, boy, when you get down to the dugout, it's big and spacious, you spread out, and the field and the sound system were probably as good as anybody else ever got to play on. So I just kind of wanted you to see if you were going to give the Coliseum a little bit of play on the good side as far as the conditions to actually play a big league game on.
Yeah, I'll give the Coliseum love in that aspect. We talk about the Coliseum from our perspective as a home field advantage. Teams come in there, they don't want to play there. It's a little uncomfortable. The visiting locker room's a little small. Like you talked about, the walk down to the field could be a little wet through the tunnel. It's cold. As we all know, in the Bay Area, even in the summer, it's cold. But the playing surface alone stands alone. And you said it. Any infielder that comes into the Coliseum, I think, will tell you that we have the best playing surface in the league. You talk about those ballparks in the Midwest that, get a lot of rain, or the grounds crew, has to maybe do a little bit more to keep the fields playable, or at least where, big league standard. You asked Matt Chapman about, the infield in Oakland. He'll always compliment it. So our grounds crew does a great job. The stadium has its thorns per se, but I think we've done a great job in trying to, help facilitate some change underneath that goes unseen. We're putting a second batting cage in our home side. So they're doing some things to make improvements underneath. But like you said, Billy, it's about the playing surface that really stands out.
Hey, I want to hit you on the Hall of Fame here, Kots, because, for viewers that aren't totally familiar with the timeline of your career, you played a long time. Debuted in '97 with the Marlins. You finished up in 2013 in San Diego. That was your second stint with the Pods. I mean, 17 years, and as such, this group, and you're seeing it on your screen, you played with a ton of guys who were already in the building, that group on the left, and then there are guys on the ballot that you've played with and spent time as a teammate and opponent. Who are we missing? Who is a guy that's on the ballot right now that Mark Kotsay, as a player in that same era, would say he's a Hall of Famer?
Well, for me, Andrew Jones stands out as a center fielder that played the game, alongside him. I think he's one of 3 that have 10 Gold Gloves in his career. I think it's Mike Schmidt, Ken Griffey Jr., and Willie Mays. So that in itself stands alone. Andrew, I always wanted to play center field as good as Andrew. Andrew played the shallowest center field in the game. He really stands out for me. Todd Helton is another one that I played alongside. We had similar careers. Obviously, he was much better than I was, but Todd's another one when the game was on the line, when they needed a big hit. I'm sure you asked, I could ask my neighbor across the street, Trevor Hoffman, who was the toughest out to get, and I bet you he'd say Todd Helton. So, Scott Rowland's on the ballot as well. Those are names that are at the top of my mind in terms of deserving to get into the Hall of Fame.
Mark, spring training right around the corner, and I wonder if you spend any time right now thinking about what that opening address is to the squad. Look, you're in a division with Houston. We see what Seattle's doing. Texas went out there and spent some money. What's that coaching kind of philosophy going into spring training with, no woe is me. We got to go out there and do some things, and if we put the right effort out there on the field, we have a chance to shock some people. So how much time do you spend right now thinking about that beginning time of spring training where you address the troops for the first few times?
Yeah, it's funny. We were sitting around the fire last night, Dave Roberts, myself, and Trevor Hoffman. We engaged in some of those conversations. I think it's obviously, time to start thinking about those messages. For us as a ball club, coming off last year, we're looking to make improvements. Our younger players are looking to make improvements, and that's going to be expected from them. We've acquired some new talent this offseason that should help us improve offensively and defensively, also on the mound. So, for us, we understand where we're at. We understand the division we're in. But we took successes last year in small strides in the division, especially against teams like Houston, Seattle, where we competed. And we know we have to play good baseball, fundamentally sound. It's another thing you hear Augie talk about all the time, was that you got to be fundamentally sound and keep ourselves in baseball games, make the plays we're supposed to make. And, hopefully that transcends into to more wins than losses.
Hey, last one for me, Kots. Little Birdie during the year told me that you put your coaching staff this year through this physical boot camp, this series of workouts. Was that just a spring training thing, or did you have these guys doing stuff all year long?
It's always an option, Matty, to get in that weight room and to work out. But I found it even more difficult this year in managing the club to spend time in that weight room. But Brad Ausmus really was the leader of that regiment. And if you look at Brad, he's kind of a physical specimen. So unfortunately, he won't be back with us this year. But obviously, wishing Brad all the best in his future endeavors. So. But yeah, we enjoy working out, Matty. We've got to keep ourselves in physical shape.
Always have. This guy's always been in good shape, man. Even with some of your limitations, Kots. I know it's not always been easy for you, dude, but my cap is tipped to you. You've always stayed in great shape. Good to see you, man. We appreciate the visit. We appreciate the time. And once again, congrats on that Jay Buhner Lookalike Award. Well deserved. Good work by you. We'll see you at spring training, man.